Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land in which I live. I would also like to pay respect to the elders past and present of the Kulin Nation and extend that respect to all Indigenous people present. So hello, and thank you for making time to view this presentation. I'm Ameena, and I'm an educator at Swinburne Online, where I facilitate fully online first-year foundational units in the disciplines of education and business. My students are mature age. In other words, they're entering university based on work experience. They're commencing with a wide range of backgrounds, academic, work, and life experiences. But the one common theme that they have is that they have all had a significant amount of time away from the academic environment. Have you shifted to online teaching due to the pandemic? Digital is no longer a buzzword, but it resides at the heart of higher education. Online learning is changing the ways in which institutions, academic staff, and students engage and communicate. Prior to the pandemic, the 21st century was already seeing a shift to fully online higher education. Yet, according to the Social Research Center's 2021 report, positive ratings for student engagement are 62% less overall for online learners. The danger is that in our shift to online learning, digital environments will simply replicate what has been done and uphold the status quo. The proxy measure of engagement is active presence and involved participation. The next two slides are common introductions of my mature age students that are shared within our discussion forum. A discussion forum is an information communication tool that can support structured and semi-structured learning. They're asynchronous, interactive spaces for students to digitally connect academically and socially with their peers and the e-moderator or online instructor. My students often share their family backgrounds, nervousness, excitement, and responsibilities that they must juggle as they begin their university journey. In sharing, they feel a sense of solidarity seeing others post about their concerns, as one student put it. The Australian Government Tertiary Education Quality and Standards Agency reported that students stated a critical issue in the uptake to online higher education has been a lack of adequate support, interaction, and engagement with peers and academic staff. In 2020, students reported relying on communication from teaching staff more heavily and advocated for more timely interaction and feedback from staff. Teaching and facilitation deficiencies are highlighted in digital learning environments. Therefore, it's vital to reevaluate teaching practices and shift away from those that are not adequate in fostering community, presence, communication, and ultimately enhancing the digital learning environment. This presentation aims to provide suggestions for engagement that have been implemented by an experienced and high-impact online instructor. The purpose is to share with educators who may be unfamiliar with the online environment or who may be experiencing engagement difficulties. We will engage with the community of inquiry education experience. And this presentation will focus on three types of presence: cognitive, social, and teaching presence. This illustration shows how the three types of presence overlap to provide a balanced and optimized educational experience. The concept of presence in online teaching builds on the body of work of John Dewey, Arthur Chickering, Zelda Gamson, and many others studying the psychological and sociological aspects of teaching, learning, and computer-mediated communication. The community of inquiry relates to the cornerstones of our work as e-moderators or online instructors. Engagement tends to drop off as the teaching period progresses, and a challenge is starting off in a way that develops a culture of sharing and contribution on the discussion forums, then using facilitation and presence to maintain the best possible levels of discussion board engagement throughout the teaching period. I find these categories particularly useful if things are quiet in the discussion boards to brainstorm ideas for meaningful posts that add value to the student experience. Five elements will be discussed: embedding multimedia, affiliative humor and storytelling, Socratic questioning, reframes, and summarizing and weaving. Reflecting high-order knowledge acquisition and application, cognitive presence is most associated with critical thinking. What is achieved with cognitive presence is an understanding on an intellectual level and on an affective level that the learning activities involve and tap into existing real meaning structures. Integrating existing learning with new learning requires knowledge, reflection, discussion, and confirming of meaning. Therefore, critical inquiry first requires a task that triggers an event, a problem to be solved, a discourse to be engaged with. The critical role of the online instructor is to initiate and shape these triggering events so that the focus remains on the attainment of the intended educational outcomes. The intended outcomes in this example aim for students to discuss the impact of work in contemporary family life and identify characteristics of effective written communication in academic context and apply them to the preparation of a forthcoming essay and understand the nature of an academic argument and critical thinking in university study. Students shift between private reflection and social exploration, that is, between critical reflection and discourse. Practical inquiry is grounded in experience but includes imagination and reflection, leading back to experience and practice. Exploration takes place in a community of inquiry with students moving between their private and their shared worlds. Integration is characterized by constructing meaning from the ideas generated by the exploratory phase. And this phase requires active teaching presence to diagnose misconceptions, to provide probing questions, comments, and additional information in an effort to ensure continuing cognitive development and to model critical thinking process. Practical application within discussion forums serves as an opportunity to apply newly created knowledge. Social presence is demonstrated by communication behaviors that enhance closeness to and nonverbal interaction with others. We can facilitate social presence by encouraging students to upload profile pictures, create virtual study groups, and engage in informal conversation. Students like to learn something about each other to feel more connected. Personal profiles and photos help, especially at the beginning of the course. It serves as a natural icebreaker. And as an instructor, I encourage students to incorporate their feelings, experiences, emotions, examples, and ideas into discussion board posts. I strive to encourage students to bring what they have to the learning environment to pull from their own experiences. Social presence will tie into strategy 1. Anderson and colleagues define teaching presence as the design, facilitation, and direction of cognitive and social processes for the purposes of realizing personally meaningful and educational learning outcomes. Teaching presence can be demonstrated by checking in, collectively or individually, congratulating students on their efforts, and encouraging discussion contribution. Moving on from the community of inquiry framework, I'll discuss the 5 strategies I commonly use to keep engagement high and keep the forum interesting. Strategy number 1 is using media meaningfully to pique students' interest and reduce the heavy use of text. I like to embed audio files or videos with captions or a transcript into my discussion forums. Video enables me to be more effective in establishing that social presence in online learning because I can speak with emotion, talk conversationally, and create a sense of closeness with my students. I also encourage students to respond or to start a discussion in this way. I like to incorporate such video dialogue as midweek discussion board prompts, and I integrate my own personal or professional experiences with the weekly content. There are many tools that can be used to integrate multimedia. A selection of them are Canva, Powtoon, Giphy, and Unsplash. Now, this doesn't mean that we need to apply a radical shift in using audio, video, memes, emojis, and GIFs as a means of scholarly communication. Instead, we should use multimedia in illustrative and organizational ways to gain students' attention and to add visual appeal. The goal is the modification of instruction and content to generate greater engagement. Users, including users with visual disabilities, must be able to perceive the content on the page. Contrast and color usage are vital to accessibility. If you're unsure if your text or media meets accessibility requirements, please use the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Strategy number 2 is affiliative humor and storytelling. We all have a unique story to tell. When online instructors incorporate storytelling and affiliative humor, rapport can be more rapidly built. Personal narratives establish a human connection which students can more deeply appreciate. Dialogue is crucial to the student experience. And storytelling can incorporate personal, professional experiences that align to the concepts being taught. A personal, engaging, and conversational tone initiated by the unit facilitator or online instructor may assist students in better understanding the content as there's less of a likelihood that academic jargon will be used. Providing messages that are respectful, positive, encouraging, timely, and frequent assists in the development of social presence and caring behavior. This also advances authentic interactions, mutual respect, and finding meaning in relationships with learners, peers, and instructors. Teacher immediacy is conceptualized as nonverbal behaviors that reduce psychological distance between teachers and students. Engaging in eye contact, embracing a relaxed body posture, motioning, And smiling improves students' affect towards their instructor and the course content. Socratic questioning encourages student agency and self-regulated learning. Strategy number 3 is the Socratic approach to questioning, which is based on intellectual, introspective dialogue by the early Greek philosopher and teacher Socrates, who believed that thoughtful questioning enabled students to examine ideas rationally. Intel demonstrates how students' interactions may be adjusted so that they probe, encourage, empathize, and engage. Some of my most employed Socratic questioning types are questions about an initial issue, clarification questions, reason and evidence questions, origin and source questions, and viewpoint questions. Within my discussion forums, this kind of querying has prompted peer interaction as well as independent thinking, and it strives to encourage student ownership of their learning process. It is the role of the online instructor to guide students in discussion involving effective summarizing of formative and summative activities. I plan out meaningful reframes or introductory posts each week that guide the student through the formative or summative activity. Reframes serve to motivate students to connect with discussion activity. I like to use color and vary the text for engagement. Reframes aim to reproduce the material in a shortened form, picking out the main points and posing a discussable prompt. This discussion activity asks students to watch a video and read prescribed literature regarding the key topic of work-life balance in modern Australian society. Students were then requested to post their perspective backed up with scholarly evidence on whether they believe such a balance is feasible. One aim was for students to be able to actively explore the topic and provide a range of potentially divergent but informed viewpoints that from several different perspectives. Strategy number 5 is summarizing and weaving. A summary is a discussion board post which acknowledges student contributions and earlier discourses and mentioning students by name. Weaving expands upon the conversation through Socratic questioning and prompting students to engage with their peers to deepen learning and establish a sense of community. Weaves seek opportunities to add value to participants' contributions. Where appropriate, weaves can and should incorporate relevant or witty multimedia like GIFs, memes, or other images, audio, video, etc. It is vital to be responsive and adaptive to students. Psychologist and educational reformer John Dewey advocated for empowering students by honoring their lived experiences. It is equally important to maintain a strong visual presence in the forums. E-moderators should strive to provide group and individual responses where appropriate. As online instructors, we should demonstrate a continuous stream of communication and provide timely and detailed responses. In my experience, I believe that e-moderators should aim to post in their discussion forums at least every 48 hours, even if there's little active engagement by students. The creation of engaging, high-trust spaces that are rich with optimism, excitement, interactivity, communication, and rapid and thorough responses and two-way dialogue facilitate and enrich the learning process. The student discussion forum experience should encourage participation and connections between lived experience, academic content, and with peers. Our aim as instructors is to offer the opportunity of discussion through the community of inquiry framework. Ultimately, we want to have students engage with and feel supported in their learning, leading to successful outcomes in their chosen units. This aims to feed into retention, satisfaction, and achievement. Thank you so much for viewing my presentation as part of the 2021 Advanced HE Student Engagement Conference. I invite you to connect and let's keep in touch. All the best and take care.